o ator Kevin Smith já chegou, né? O pessoal ainda está entrando, aí o palco tá aí. Vai ser o NFT Drop do Kevin Smith. Fera, da hora, entendeu? Eu não sei se na hora do evento pega bem eu ficar com o telefone ligado, entendeu? Mas estamos aí. Tem uma coisa para acrescentar?
Tá, seguinte, quando a gente chegou aqui para entrar, o cara tinha dado uma palavra secreta pra gente. E a gente, com essa palavra secreta, a gente tinha pego o ingresso, né? Só que quando chegou aqui na entrada, o cara só chamou assim e falou, qual que é a palavra secreta? E aí a gente deu a palavra secreta, e aí o cara já deu 2 fichas de bebida pra gente, e aqui dentro eles deram pra gente uma NFT. Então a gente já ganhou uma NFT só de entrar aqui nessa festa.
Hoje eu já ganhei, pessoal, uns 10 NFT. Imagina, se algum desses daí voar, né? Mas a gente ganha muita coisa nesses eventos, né? Deixa eu mostrar um pouquinho aqui pra vocês como é que tá. Aí, tá vazio ainda, o pessoal chegando, entendeu? Tá aí, muito legal mesmo, muito legal. Isso daqui vai lotar mais tarde, né? A gente tá esperando, não sabemos que hora que o ator vai aparecer, mas ele já tá aqui, o Kevin Smith. Vocês devem conhecer ele aí. Boa noite a todos, pessoal. Então estamos aí mostrando só um pouquinho para vocês, é isso aqui mesmo, lugar bem legal, muito quente aqui no Texas, pessoal, muito quente, ó. E acompanhar o garotinho aqui não é fácil, pessoal, acho que ele puxou meu pai, ó, não é brincadeira. Ele é rápido, parece o Energizer Bunny. Rapaz,
Coelhinho da Duracell, né?
Coelhinho da Duracell. Chegamos em casa lá, tive que me arrumar correndo e ele lá pressionando, vamos, mas é isso aí, né? Não é brincadeira. Aí.
Ah, é, mais uma coisa. Eu acho que é o Alok que vai estar tocando aqui.
Vamos ver como é que vai ser, né? Eu tô com muito calor, pessoal. Texas não é brincadeira não. A Flórida é quente, mas o Texas ganhou disparado, não é?
A gente se deu mal, porque o cara deu a entender que era pra vir bem vestido, entendeu? É. E a galera tá tudo de shorts aqui, de saia, e nós estamos tudo mané aqui com calça comprida, passando mó calor, entendeu?
Eu pensei que ia ser evento de coroinha, tudo bacana, ar-condicionado, chá de camomila, que nada, pessoal. Aqui é brincadeira, aqui é só pros jovens, igual o meu irmão aqui que é garotão. Não é brincadeira. Não encontrei não, parece que o pessoal queria dar uma surra nele, ele não veio. O cara da Luna. O cara da Luna tá roubado.
Então, a gente estava conversando com o taxista e o taxista falou que aqui, essa cidade, Austin, é a capital do DeFi. Que todas as empresas de DeFi têm base aqui em Austin, entendeu? Então é muito legal. Ele falou que é uma característica que a galera de DeFi resolveu se reunir aqui, por alguma razão.
Olha o cara da Luna ali, traz o meu irmão ali. Cara da Luna. Mas tamo aí, tá bom, pessoal? Vou ficando por aqui, porque tem uma tremenda música aí, né? Daqui a pouco eu vou ter que dançar também. Não tem como ficar falando, né? E não tem nada para falar também. Só queria mostrar para vocês um pouquinho como é que o evento, para quem está entrando agora, tá aí no evento, o CryptoBuff tá aí. Vamos esperar, né? Porque eu achava que era um evento assim mais, entendeu? Num lugar fechado, mas tá da hora também. Shibinu listada no Bitstamp da Europa. Listada na Bitstamp da Europa, fera. Olha aí, pessoal, ó, o negócio do evento aí. Pessoal, muito obrigado aí por acompanhar a gente, né? lembrando que o Consensus começa amanhã. Hoje a gente está no Decentro, o Consensus. A gente veio aqui para o Consensus 2022, começa amanhã. Tem que ir para casa, dormir cedo, descansar, senão aguenta. Porque acompanhar o garotão aqui não é brincadeira. Tá bom, pessoal? Então se liguem, amanhã é o primeiro dia do Consensus. A gente já pegou o passe hoje. Eu mostrei, eu fiz o vídeo, a gente lá pegando o passe. Depois fomos no Decentro, né? E agora estamos aqui nessa festa que a gente foi convidado. Nós fomos convidados para uma outra festa depois dessa, mas não sei se vai dar para ir não. Esse ritmo aqui é muito pesado pro Xexa. Tô com saudade do meu chá de camomila. Porque o negócio é o seguinte, pessoal, eu tenho que planejar o que eu vou fazer amanhã. Eu já consegui várias entrevistas hoje. Só que eu falei pro pessoal do Decentro, eu falei, pessoal, vem aqui pro Consenso, eu não me programei pro Decentro, né? Então eu não vou poder entrevistar vocês, mas já marquei para outro dia. Ó, esse daí é nosso amigo que convidou a gente, né? Fiz o vídeo com ele hoje mais cedo, dá uma olhada. Ele que falou para eu pôr uma roupa da hora, olha lá como ele veio de shortinho e eu aqui com calça de linho, rapaz. Tá descendo agora o artista aí, ó. Vocês deram sorte, pessoal.
So I had a 5-minute conversation with Upland that lasted about almost 40 minutes. There he is. Come on down.
Aê. É o rapaz do Clerks, aquele ator famoso lá, pessoal.
Kids, how are you?
Aê.
I love you as well. Welcome, everybody, to the Legend Party, man. We're gonna sit around, chit chat, talk Kilroy, talk about whatever you want. Jason Mewes is here, everybody.
Aê.
That's right, you get Jay and Silent Bob and shit. Thanks for coming out. Did everybody enjoy the show so far today?
Yeah. Para vocês que não conhecem, vai lá e dá uma olhada no filme Clerks. Esse daí é o ator do filme Clerks.
Open it up and chit chat later on about whatever you want to talk about. But first up, we're gonna show you what y'all came here to see, some Kilroy stuff. Is it bright, like dark? If it plays, is it gonna be too light or no? Do we have to wait till it gets darker? Is that right? Technology. Wow. That's fantastic. First up, we just want to show you, we got 2 teasers, and then I'm going to show you a big old sequence from the movie and stuff. But let's take a look at the first teaser, the comic book cover of Kilroy. Oh, that's very bright. Before we show it, and they're like, we got a fucking TV screen. That looks fantastic. Not just the NFT itself, the artwork, but like the presentation was really fucking nice. Before we go further, kids, just a quick anecdote that I want to share with you. I just got over COVID, and prior to that, I've been like 2 months hardcore of hitting cons, various conventions. I went to VCon when I was in Minnesota, and I think that's where I did get COVID. Not from VCon, but from Minnesota. So. Prior to that, I've been doing a bunch of like comic book shows, fan expos and shit. And I was in St. Louis at a Comic Con. Before I went to the con, I was just sitting on my balcony, smoking, having a joint, and just centering myself for the day. And the beautiful thing, when you go to a Comic-Con, people walk around like dressed up and shit. So like as I sat there smoking, I was like, holy shit, man, there's fucking Katniss Everdeen. Holy shit, there's 10 Doctor Stranges. And holy shit, there's a Silent Bob or two. When they dress up like heroes, though, there's something so magical about it. I'm an old man, but I still, like, it captures my imagination. I'm like, wouldn't it be great if fucking we could walk around like that? Not just during a con and shit. So as I'm 8 floors up looking down, and I'm seeing people heading to the convention center. And then to my left, there's a sidewalk, and this dude on one of those fucking, like, bird scooters, just doing what looks like 40 miles per hour down the fucking curb. And, you know, normally that'd be an asshole thing to do, but there's nobody around. There's just a dude by himself in all his fucking glory, man, cruising. Made it look fun. I've never been on one, but for that first time, I was like, I would like doing that. Until he hit a fucking bump and face planted so fucking hard at high speed. Mercifully, it wasn't into the fucking cement. There was this, like, big patch of dirt in the water fountain. Boom, he went fucking right into it and shit. So, like, I felt bad for him. I was 8 floors up. I could do nothing except fucking look. But the fucking most wonderful thing happened. Out of nowhere, a dude dressed like Superman fucking emerged. Fucking helped that dude to his feet, man, and brushed him off and shit. And I was like, oh my God, this is what it would be like. And then he just, like, rather than jump and fucking leave him, this guy just fucking walked away. That's where it all fucking fell apart and shit. But it was so fucking magical. Being here at this convention, not a lot of cosplay going on, so we won't have that fucking moment. But I'm the only one that came in cosplay. So next time, everyone else fucking wear your outfits. Let's take a look at the second piece of artwork, ladies and gentlemen. This beautiful piece of artwork by Dante. Throw it up. They did such a nice job with the fucking artwork and stuff. Quick story about how Kilroy even came to be. Me and my friend Andy McElfresh, I do a podcast called Education with him. We had written this Krampus. We did an episode where we talked about the Krampus like years ago. And then I was like, hey man, we should write like a fucking anthology script about the Krampus. And we did, and we were headed toward making it, but then I got sidetracked and made yoga hosers instead. So it sat dormant, and while it sat dormant, somebody went and made a real Krampus movie. And it did well, it did like 20, 30 million bucks or something like that. But at that point, it was like, oh, it's already been done, fuck. So I thought we were finished with it. But our anthology stories didn't have much to do with the Krampus. We just kind of used him as a central bad guy. And they were just more like creep show type, disconnected, Twilight Zone-y anthology stories. So when I met David Shapiro as producer on this movie, it was in Sarasota at the Ringling College of Art and Design. I went and spoke to the kids and whatnot. And David was like, would you like to come and shoot short films with the kids? Justin Long did it, and he said he had a great time. Justin told me himself, not David. But I was like, yeah, that sounds fucking fun. I was like, well, what do we do with the short film? And he's like, oh, you know, it's just, we put them up maybe online, you can put them on your website. I was like, learning how to make a short film is pretty much that. Like, what if we taught them how to make a whole feature? Like, what if we did this 3 times and we took all those shorts, put them together as an anthology? And he was just like, well, do you want to write it? And I was like, I already did. So I went back to Andy and I was like, I think I got a place for us to make Krampus, but we won't make Krampus because it's already been made. So all we do is switch our bad guy out to something else, and we're back in business and shit. And so I started thinking about what that could be, and Kilroy, which was, you know, the first meme, many people said, in World War I, He was used, inspectors would draw him on tanks and missiles to say that they had been inspected. The guy's name was Kilroy. He would write, Kilroy was here. People started adding art to it and whatnot. It became popular in World War II again, and ever since then, not so much. Last time he was very popular was like in the 70s. There were a bunch of t-shirts and shit. But nobody owned it. I looked it up and I was like, nobody owns Kilroy? I was like, fuck, man, it's got a cool name. Kilroy's got Kill in it. So I was like, let's make a movie. Let's turn this thing into Kilroy was here. Rewrote it for our bad guy and came up with a backstory for the bad guy and stuff. Naturally, the drawing of Kilroy is a dude hanging over a fence with a long nose. So when it came time to make the monster, we had to honor that. That's one of the only things people know about Kilroy is he's got that long nose. So I turned to Robert Kirkman, who's a special effects artist. He's the guy who made Tusk for us, the walrus and Tusk, that suit. Going back in Hollywood history, his biggest credit is he's the man who made Marky Mark's dick in Boogie Nights. So, you know, fucking, that's right. Well done. Very gifted, talented man. So I turned to him and I was like, we need to make a Kilroy monster. And he was like, well, his nose should be big then. I said, absolutely. And he goes, all right, let me come up with a design. So he came up with a design, and the nose was like long, but it wasn't super long. And I was like, I don't know if it screams Kilroy, Bob. And he goes, if I go any longer, it's going to look like a dick. And I was like, why is that a bad thing? So we started our movie with a bad guy with this massive fucking dick nose. So it's very tough to take it seriously, but yet the movie has like scares, like it does get kind of like spooky and shit. So when, you know, we talked about releasing it as an NFT, I was talking to the folks at Secret Guy, and, you know, I was like, well, the idea of the generative piece of art, the singular image of Kilroy, I was like, what if we gave everyone ownership of that image, the way like Bored Ape does and stuff like that? They'll own not just the NFT, but like that is their version of Kilroy. And they were like, do you want to give up your IP like that? And I was like, yeah, it's not really my IP. I stole it from history. So like, you know, why can't it be everybody else's as well? And so suddenly that opened the notion up about like, well, if everybody's got their own version of the character, what if there were people that wanted to like take theirs a step further, do what we did, make a short with it, make an animated feature, whatever the fuck. I was like, well, at that point, man, we could then aggregate all those into the sequel. Like people who are buying the NFT who are like, oh shit, I want to do a Kilroy film. You know, we're showing them what it looks like. Here's the template, and you know, it's essentially like do as good or better. Like, and you can. Like, it's a Kevin Smith film, so the bar is very low. So the idea of like taking somebody from consumer to collaborator, you know, is exciting. I'm a guy who's been selling shit to people for almost 30 years at this point. As soon as we started making movies, we started making t-shirts, then we started making toys. And we've made action figures for movies that like don't deserve it. There are Chasing Amy action figures out there in the world, kids. So I've spent a lifetime making things, and then also making things that connect people to the stuff I already made. And not because I was like, this is how I'll get rich. It's because people asked for it, man. Like, we put up the viewskew.com website, what was it, 1995, right after Mallrats 10. And, you know, I would sit on the website and just answer questions and shit. I thought it was so novel. I was like, I could talk to people that bought tickets to my movie. Like, I want to know who the fuck that person is. And I got to know the audience. And right away, the audience started asking, like, what are you selling? And I was like, well, I guess I'm selling these movies and the idea of me as a filmmaker. And like, no, like, don't you have t-shirts? And it never occurred to me to like make t-shirts of my shit. But at that point I was like, no. I said, I have 200 Mallrats posters in the closet. And they're like, why don't you sign that and sell it? And I was like, all right. So the audience like backed me into it, and I was like, yeah, all right, let's make merchandise. But I grew up collecting Star Wars shit. So at that point, I was like, all right, well, I know how to do this. I bought somebody else's merchandise for years. Like, I know what I want as a fan. Maybe I can replicate that. And we had our own, and still have our own small version of that, where people love the movies, the ones that do, but they also love to, like, take it home in the way of an action figure, or wear me and Jay on a t-shirt. You know, something that, like, my kid, I wear a lot of shirts with my face on it. My kid, she's 23, always fucking gives me shit for it, man. She's like, it is so cringe how you wear yourself on your shirt. And I'm like, I can't expect somebody else to pay 20 bucks for a t-shirt with my face on it if I'm not fucking willing to do it. And I was like, I'm the best billboard for this shit, man, so I might as well. So I've always been into the notion of, like, how do you keep the experience going? Like, as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, you got 3 acts generally. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. But, like, it's more fun for me to tell the story for a longer time than we get with the movie itself. Most filmmakers are content to make the movie that stands there as its own statement, its own work of art. David Fincher makes a movie, puts it out there, doesn't say shit about it, like, you know, people talk about it and stuff like that. That's his statement, his testimony is the art itself. I'm a different kind of artist, where I make the movie and it ends, I quickly run out and I'm like, hold on, let me tell you fucking 10 stories about why shit went wrong. Because I don't want the movie to end. I don't want the experience to fucking end. I want to prolong it. If you're having fun with this job, like, the movie doesn't begin when the opening credits happen. The movie begins years before, when you start telling people about this idea. Like, I want to do this thing, man. You get people excited. Like, the storytelling process begins there. Making the movie becomes muscle memory at that point, because you've already dreamed about it for so fucking long. But the movie don't have to end when the credits roll either, man. Like, I'm fucking, as I said before, 51. I still talk about Clerks, like my very first movie. You know, it's people still, people bring it up, yes, but I won't stop talking about it myself. Like, I'm still very pleased by the whole thing and whatnot. And, you know, for me, to be able to keep that story going, like, by way of, like, hey man, we're gonna do a comic book with these characters in it, is fun. Little adjuncts to the actual, my main job, which is supposed to be filmmaking, but all these other ways of telling stories were just as equally as interesting. Coming out and talking about the movie afterwards, doing the Q&A became, like, my favorite part of the process of filmmaking. Not so much making the movie itself, but talking about it afterwards. So, I've always been into the notion of, like, how do we keep this interesting for the audience? Because I don't sell Marvel stuff. And I'm not saying that negatively. I wish I did fucking sell Marvel stuff, but that's there. I don't have Star Wars to sell. All I have is, like, fucking Kevin Smith to sell. And to be honest with you, anyone interested in that bought it a long time ago, and there's way more choices out there now. I'm competing against a very crowded world. When I first came onto the scene in, like, 94, very limited competition. You know, there were 3 networks and cable TV, that's it. Now there are infinite streamers and shit. It's tough to keep up with all the content. I was telling somebody today, just upstairs, when I first got online back in, like, 1995, you could say shit like, oh, I did the internet, it was great. And me, like, you hit every site that existed, because I've been there since it started. Now, you could never do that. You could spend 40 lifetimes and not visit every site and shit. Same way with streaming content. Like, when we made Clerks, that was one of, like, what, 100 movies that came out that year? Now, it's tough to make a noise or get any attention because of the sheer volume of content that is thrown at us on a regular basis, man. And it's not even, I'm not saying it's a negative. I'm happy. I love to turn on that tap and make sure the fucking entertainment's coming out. But it also means that I'm competing with all of that. Like, how do you get attention in that space if there's so many people doing it? Good news is I don't need a lot of attention. Movies I make are kind of small, so it means you don't have to, like, make all the money in the world and stuff. And if you can leave out certain parts of the process, like marketing and distribution costs and stuff, suddenly you have even less to recoup. And I'm like, it's so weird. Because I can't come from indie film, I always dream with a ceiling and a price tag. Like, I'm always like, well, I know what that would cost, that's too much. Let me alter the idea so that it's more affordable and stuff. Because it's more important to me to make the thing than to make the thing the way I initially thought about it. Ideas change and evolve and stuff. You have to be so pliable. You have to be ready to, like, you know, they tell you as an artist you're supposed to have an uncompromising vision. Bullshit. I've been doing this job 30 fucking years. If I had an uncompromising vision, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I'd be out of the business. You're fucking too. Like after Mallrats came out, Mallrats tanked. I know people like the movie a lot, but it fucking died at the box office. And if I had an uncompromising vision where I'm like, it's gonna be Mallrats till the end, like, they'd have drummed me out of the fucking business. You have to be malleable, man. You have to be able to modify your expectations and everything in life. I learned that from my wife. My wife, like, I'm sure she didn't see me as the person she wanted to marry. She was like a high school cheerleader and shit. And she met me and she modified her expectations. And we've been together for over 20 years, you know, so she's not here, so fuck her, but like, but I would assume, you know, I think I could read her well at this point. Nobody knows anybody in this world, right? Like, I've known Jason Hughes longer than I've known my wife, and he's still a mystery to me. So I think I know my wife, and I think she seems happy with her decision. I never hear her talk about, like, there was this other guy I used to fuck, I wish I was still fucking him, you know. And she's never said that to any friends who then reported it back to me. Did she ever say anything like that to you? God damn it. She modified, some people would say lower, I say modify her expectations, and the shit kind of worked out. Same thing I've done my entire career, man. And it helps if you don't have expectation. Like, you know, I'm still every day fucking shocked that this is what I do for a living, that somebody will give me money to talk or fucking try to be entertaining. I'm breathing rarefied fucking air and stuff. But the older I get, you know, there's way more competition, way more interesting emerging artists. I'm old hat at this point. You think she modified her expectations? That's my boy right there. So not true, but thank you. Finding out, like, fucking nooks and crannies to play in, that's what I've been doing for 30 years. Like, if I was trying to play on one playing field, like the studio playing field at all times, I'd have been drummed out of the business a long time ago. And so you gotta be malleable, man. You gotta modify your expectations. When we started making Kilroy, the expectation was,
pessoal,
we'll take this
vou ficando por aqui. Mas é isso aí, estamos aqui, ó, meu irmão está traduzindo tudo no canal dele, ele está aí, pula lá no criptomoedas, tá bom? Muito obrigado a todos, e é isso aí, como sempre, não desanima não, hein?